All right, folks, welcome to the final edition of the Backmarkers F1 show for the 2019 F1 season. We're very happy that you guys could join us for one last time this year before we all head off and brainstorm and get ready for the 2020 season. But for the last time, I'm Chris Cato. I got Tyler McDonald to my left and also Shaker all the way over there on the other side. And
hello over there. Hello.
Way down there on the other side. This table's so big now, considering where we started in the beginning of the year.
If there was like the best, you know how you develop your cars throughout the year, you know, for us, our biggest R&D development was our table.
Yeah.
Definitely our table.
That's
We're
absolutely
definitely
right.
be adding more to it as we go along. As you guys noticed, Chris brought some driving blubs.
That's right. I went full Ferrari, and let me just put these on real quick here. And you have to have racing gloves for a podcast, folks. It gives you good grip on your mug. Gives you good grip on the microphone stand here. It's pulled together, so it's very, very professional. Official Ferrari racing gloves, ready to go.
Where's that sponsorship money?
I didn't get any, but
What the heck?
they can't text though. Unfortunately,
Oh,
they are not texting
useless.
gloves.
Useless.
So I take them off though because they get really hot.
No, that's why the steering wheels on F1 cars will never be touchscreen.
That's true.
Imagine
It's
that.
never
Good
going to
point.
work.
Didn't even think of that.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. Just like Tesla, like a Tesla. Like, you can't, you know.
And even if they did have the gloves with touchscreen, it would be way too sweaty to work. And half the time, they don't
Yeah.
work anyways. So
That's true.
Yeah, wet races too. It wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's true.
you learn these things living in Canada. Those gloves don't work half the time.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
gloves are awful. They
Yeah.
are really bad.
Yeah, exactly. Currently, what is it, like minus 25 outside today?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
freezing.
Going through a very cold spell. So, yeah, it's been our season reviews a couple weeks, I guess, later maybe.
I think they should have a race in Montreal when it's minus 25 outside. Just see how the cars handle it.
It would be fun.
In the snow tires and everything.
Have to
Yeah.
develop special winter tires, especially for that race.
Yeah, it'd be great. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Well, I know that they've done a couple show runs in like the Alps or something.
Yeah, Max Verstappen did one, did he not?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, I mean, it's possible, but it's definitely it's interesting to see what like the circuit Gilles Villeneuve looks like at this time of the year.
Yeah, it's
It's all
true.
covered with snow and ice. So, yeah, it's been quite a busy couple of weeks, obviously, with the whole holiday schedule and all three of us being either like we're really busy with work or we've all been sick at some point. I know, Tyler, you're just mentioning that coming off of like 3 hours of sleep from your work. So it's been pretty crazy. Pretty
Here for the grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here for the
So-
grind.
You know, as much as it is kind of, it's a sad moment that we've reached the end of the year and that this is our final podcast. It's also kind of looking forward to a little bit of time away from it to be able just to recharge the batteries.
Just like what Vettel needs this year.
For sure.
You know, a little recharge over the winter holidays, come back for testing, and with a new outlook on the season. But yeah, just like the drivers, we went through a grind as well. I mean, not physically, but more mentally. And
Yeah.
we're happy to see 2019 gone in the terms of the race. The season was over in terms of the championship wise. So we're hoping that 2020 brings us some much nicer and closer championship racing. I think we can all agree on that.
I think the exact same words were said at the end of 2018.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
I mean, I would hope for it as well. So
I think 2018 was a little more competitive, so I think we were expecting a lot for this season, and we just didn't get it, unfortunately.
well, I think a lot of it started off with the beginning of the season as well, with Mercedes being so dominant and setting their records for 1-2 finishes in a row.
yeah.
I mean, that was it up to
7.
Canada, because Seb finished second in Canada, so I
So
think
7.
it ended there. So
Six.
6. Yeah.
And then, but they still won anyways in Canada. We can get on that whole topic again if we want.
I don't think we have enough time.
No, we don't. But that right from the outlook, it put a huge damper on this season, having Mercedes dominate so early and so often. That everyone was really playing catch up at that point. And it's so hard to chase a season from behind. It's very, I mean, once you're down, to make that comeback, especially against a team like Mercedes. If the roles were reversed and Ferrari did this, and Mercedes had the challenge to come back, I
wouldn't doubt it for
yeah,
a second.
I
They
would think-
they can make it happen.
100%.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was Mercedes that just killed everyone, and Lewis specifically, it put a damper on the season to start off. And thank God after the summer break, we had some fantastic racing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're kind of just going to jump around it in this season review. We were talking before air. That's not really going to be too structured, just kind of reminiscing, talking about different parts of the season. But yeah, that was the tough part is when you open the season with 6-1-2s, 8 wins in a row. Really, it doesn't really matter what you do after that. It's going to be hard to catch up. And even when we look at after the summer break, like you mentioned, we had great races and Leclerc winning races, Verstappen winning races, but Hamilton was still leading the championship after the summer break as well. So, yeah, we need the other teams to start off really well, like they did in 2018. I mean, Ferrari started well in 2018, same with Red Bull, and then both of them fell off after the summer break. So, yeah, 2019, it was a very rough start to the year, but like you said, thank God for races like Germany, Brazil, Singapore, just
Austria,
to name a few.
fantastic.
Austria, obviously,
Yep.
Silverstone as well.
Yeah, that was a good race as well. And all of it coming not maybe midway later on in the season. But I just want to kind of think of how things maybe could have changed if a couple things went right. And obviously the first one we could talk about is Charles Leclerc in Bahrain. And I think a lot of people forget about that race because Leclerc had his first race win right there.
Yeah.
But that mechanical problem for Charles really set. Obviously, he lost the race, and I think that hurt Ferrari a lot confidence wise because they weren't the same for a few races until they hit Canada. They weren't the same really until then. And if they would have got that race win, that's the second race this season, right? Bahrain was the second race.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean you're even level. I think it brings a lot more going to the table, but that hurt a lot. I could have been some points that would have made things a little more interesting as well. And same with Canada with Vettel getting shafted in his race win. That could have helped shape the season as well.
For sure.
I wonder how much different the season would have gone had they, not only just won that race, but converted the 1-2.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had issues obviously racing each other, and then Vettel got past, and then he obviously spun again in the battle with Hamilton. So I'm wondering, had they finished 1-2, things would have been on an even playing field heading into China. Would it have made a difference, or would the same issue still have been happening at Ferrari? We never know, but like you said, in Canada, I think was almost kind of the final nail in the coffin on Vettel's season.
Yeah, 100%.
Because when you look at the head-to-head up until Canada, Vettel was getting the better of Leclerc. Even in qualifying, definitely in the races, he was getting the preferred strategy, and he was the hero on qualifying on Saturday in Montreal, getting the first pole position of the season. Everybody was so excited. And then for that to happen in Sunday, which we still don't believe should have been a penalty.
No.
Was just a massive disappointment. And then after that, he's just like, I'm not going to get anything out of this season. So that's kind of how the rest of the year went for Vettel. And then obviously for Ferrari, they made some progress toward the later end of the season, but it's too little too late.
I mean, the shining light in Ferrari's end of the year was Charles Leclerc getting the most podiums of the season, as well as, getting them a first place finish in Italy, which hasn't happened in a very long time. So
yeah, it has to be the highlight of the season. It was that Monza win. I was going back. I think it was there was someone clipped it on YouTube the last 10 minutes of the race or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And, it was fantastic to rewatch just to see the emotion in Italy and like the emotion of the Ferrari team. And
yeah,
that was definitely one of the cooler moments of 2019 to see Leclerc being the hero rather than Vettel.
Yeah.
In Italy in Monza, because we know how much Vettel wants to have that German-Italian national anthem pairing, not only in the World Championship stage, but in Italy as well as a home race.
And especially in that race, for him to spin out the way he did and then take Lance Stroll off the track returning was just a really big. And then interesting that he came back the very next race and won.
Yep.
So, like I said, I think we talked about this earlier in the season, saying that it's just been the weirdest season ever because we got the 6-1-2s to open the year, and then we have Charles Leclerc with the most pole positions, more than Lewis Hamilton. We got Valtteri, who's got the same amount of poles, and just a bunch of weird things that happened throughout the year that we kind of really didn't expect, both in a positive and a negative way.
Yep.
And it was just it's very, very strange.
I think the biggest comeback, or maybe a big surprise that I saw this season, had to go to McLaren.
For sure.
And the way they handled themselves all year, because even in winter testing, we're like, okay, this team, has some pace toward their car, and obviously the Lando Norris having a rookie season, Carlos Sainz coming over. It's a fresh start to post-Alonso era for McLaren, with Zach Brown still at the charge of that team. And not much was expected going into the season for them. It was going to be okay as another 8th place team, most likely. And they proved a lot of people wrong. Obviously, 4th in constructor standings. Carlos Sainz gets a podium. Lando Norris, a phenomenal rookie season, becomes a pop culture icon. Yeah, can you say icon? Yeah, for McLaren and online. He
A meme lord.
Yeah, a
There
meme
we
lord.
go.
Yeah, so much traction social media wise to McLaren, and they grasp it. And then having the relationship with him and Carlos Sainz, I think it was just a nice feel good story for 2019. Seeing McLaren back on their positive ways rather than every second race they're out with an engine failure.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that as a team to watch in 2020 as well, and to see what development they could go down the line. Because I mean, we all always know throughout F1's history, McLaren's had they've been in the topic of conversation in terms of fantastic cars, and if they can kind of keep the momentum going, it'd be nice to see them try and challenge the top 3. Whether next year or who knows in 2021, who knows what could happen in 2021. But it would be nice to see them kind of make that extra push forward and see what development they can do in the wintertime.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of this season, I would have said Force. Oh my god, I'm still messing
Force
it up.
India.
Racing Point, and Haas or Renault would have been the top 3 choices for best of the rest. And like you said, nobody expected McLaren to come out of nowhere with 2 brand new drivers on their team. To come out and do so well, and still fighting towards the end of the season for it to be for Carlos Sainz ended up getting what 5th, 6th,
6th.
Yeah, best of the rest ahead of the split Red Bull drivers.
Yeah, split Red Bull drivers. I think the other big surprise for me this year was Toro Rosso as well.
Yes, that's a good point.
Because who would have expected them to knock? You saw the first podium in Germany, but who would have expected them to get a second podium with Pierre Gasly having made the switch halfway throughout the season? I think that to me was the biggest surprise of the season, next to McLaren.
If you would have told me that Pierre Gasly was going to get a podium in 2019, I would have believed it the way he started.
Yeah.
When you said he would have got a podium in a Toro Rosso at the end of the season, I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's what I mean, right? Like such a strange season.
Yeah.
Like where did that come from? Two Toro Rosso podiums.
To
Crazy.
not have another Red Bull driver that's not Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
He was the only Red Bull driver to get podium this season.
Yeah, Alex Albon, who made the switch over, doesn't get a podium at all, and the 2 Toro Rosso drivers do get a podium. Like it's
hilarious.
Yeah. It's crazy to think. And I'm like, wow, how does that work? You can thank Lewis Hamilton for that, I guess.
Yeah.
True. But I think McLaren was for me the most positive surprise in 2019. Special shout out though to Toro Rosso / now going to be AlphaTauri, because they just had a good year all around, and not just the 2 highs and the podiums, but they had a lot of points finishes and a lot of good races.
For sure.
And a bounce back year for Danny Kvyat, and he showed that he deserves a seat in Formula One, which is great. And it all really started in that first race in Australia with them having a good race. So whether it was Albon or then Gasly coming in, the team was always moving in the right direction. A couple rough weekends here and there, but for me, McLaren was definitely the most positive surprise of the season. If you would have told me that they would have finished 4th ahead of Renault, and like you mentioned, Shaker, Haas, and even Racing Point,
For sure.
I was very surprised. And also, I just really liked how transparent they were all season, even with that whole IndyCar disaster. Like Zach Brown just came out and admitted everything that they did wrong, which is extremely rare in pretty much any sport or any business or profession to be completely transparent. So I think that's a good sign for McLaren, and the leadership seems to be there. Andreas Seidel has done a good job coming into that team, and their drivers, right? I mean, you guys touched on it a little bit, but Carlos Sainz that's his team, man. He stepped right into Fernando Alonso's shoes and has done a pretty damn good job of filling in for it.
For sure.
And he got a podium for it. And McLaren, for the first time in 2014, got the podium, scored more than 100 points. Brilliant year for them.
Yeah, I don't think it could have gone any better. Maybe Lando getting a podium, which he had some good finishes as well. I don't think he ever got a 4th, but I know he got 5th a couple times.
Yeah, well, he's running in 5th in Spa when that engine.
Yeah, that's right. No.
I think he still ended up getting 5th, right? Because he made it to the last lap.
No, it was 11th. He finished 11th.
Okay.
Still classified though. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to get to the line to
finish the race.
yeah.
And good for him, too. I remember watching him in Australia, and he was so nervous, and he kind of looked like a deer in the headlights. And
Yeah.
for me, it was the Rookie of the Year. I don't know if you guys have a different vote, but Lando Norris, to me, was the Rookie of the Year. And the
for
battle
sure.
between the teammates, him and Carlos, was actually
Yep.
pretty close. Even the qualifying, he
Who
got
are
an
you going to
advantage
say,
of.
Tyler?
he's not my rookie of the year.
Are you going to say
well,
Albon?
who is it then?
Albon?
I'm going to say Alex Albon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Personally, for me.
It's a very close tie between Alex Albon and Lando Norris, and I figured you were going to say that, but the only reason I chose Lando Norris because of his performance all season, where Albon kind of stepped in halfway through and kind of filled in the shoes for Red Bull.
He had some really good races
For sure.
for Toro Rosso as well. There's only a couple mistakes he really made, a couple big crashes that he had. But if we're on this conversation, I know a lot of people don't think this, and they're going, okay, well, he raced for the worst team, didn't score a single point all year. But George Russell should be in topic for being a rookie of the year or in that conversation because he dominated. If you look at a head-to-head with Robert Kubica,
every single race.
every single race he dominated. He beat
Every single race but one?
No, every single race.
Was it every
he swept
single
them.
race?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's the
really,
only
eh?
driver to sweep
In qualifying.
In qualifying.
Though. Yeah.
In qualifying,
The only
yeah.
thing was one race that Robert scored a point and he didn't. But he impressed me a lot with his composure, especially at the latter parts of the season when Williams was a little better than what they were in Australia. He made a few very nice passes on cars that he shouldn't be catching.
Right.
So I think that George Russell, with Williams get their stuff sorted, he's going to have a long future in F1. And someone to watch out for, I think, for the open McLaren, or not McLaren, open Mercedes seat that will be coming up in a not too distant future.
Soon.
Still think that's Max's, but
Could go anywhere. Could go anywhere.
Well, actually, on the topic of Rookie of the Years, I want to congratulate Nicholas Latifi for winning the 2020 Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, that's true. He is the only rookie on
Yeah.
the grid next year, so good for him.
Yeah.
What a prize already.
What a way to start.
He hasn't even raced and he has a trophy.
Yeah, good for him, man. People hating on him already. It's ridiculous. But yeah, couldn't agree more with what you said. Very tough to see because he's at the back of the grid in a car that will do 19th at best at most races. But I think he was great. Orlando for me, only reason why, because of the crashes that you mentioned for Albon. He was a little bit shaky, but he managed to bounce back really well. So I guess you could have gotten to give it to any one of those guys. They were all fantastic.
Yeah.
There was no, rookie guy coming in and being out of place. Like,
For
this
sure.
guy shouldn't have this seat. He's not good enough. It was all three of them came in and like, okay, these guys deserve to be, contenders in every single race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess on that note, we talked a little bit about the most positive surprises of the season, but for you two, what was the most disappointing thing about this season? And not maybe just the season as a whole, the lack of the championship battle, but was there a driver, was there a team, or was there something about F1 this year that just really disappointed you guys?
Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll in the Secret Santa video. That's my vote.
No, not like
was bad.
yes, that's a big one. But I, with how Sergio Perez, performed in that car all season, I was expecting a little bit more from Lance Stroll at the beginning of the season as well because he was stepping up to a bigger team. I know, despite the fact that it was his father's team, but I think he was supposed to be one of the drivers that was supposed to outshine everybody else, and he kind of got left behind, and everybody else was either had a better race, did better than him. We're talking about George Russell and Kubica over Lance Stroll.
Remember, he did have a P4. Almost had a podium.
And that wasn't in Canada, right? No, Germany, yes. But still, that was his highlight for one lap.
Yeah.
For one lap, not even a full lap.
He was he wasn't leading. Well,
Yeah,
he was in the lead at one point.
He
but
led half a lap.
Yeah, he didn't
Yes,
lead a
not
lap.
even a full lap. And there were some great strategy calls from Racing Point, and just to him to never, I think he got one top 10 finish, two.
No, he
more
got
than that.
Yeah, he had more than that. He got the one in Canada. I think he was started 17th,
Yes.
finished P9. He had a few, though. I think he scored 21 points in total for the whole season.
Okay, well, for sure.
But he was outscored a good amount. I think we had one of the teammate battles graphics up there for the Racing Point boys. But yeah, I would probably have to agree with you, Shaker. It's not my vote personally, but
It is a disappointment for sure, but yeah.
yeah. I think when you look at it, it's his third season in F1 already, right? 2017, 2018, and now in 2019. And I'm not surprised that Sergio, kind of did a clean sweep as we're looking at it now, both the qualifying and the races, because
They're tied on DNFs.
tied on DNFs. There you go. Because Sergio, he's kind of an underrated driver on the grid. He's very good, very technical. He's been in the game for a long time now. But I just think the frustrating thing with Lance Stroll is the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
He does that P4 in Germany, which was a fantastic race when you consider Hülkenberg, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas all crashed out, and he kept it clean to finish fourth. But then qualifying, again, that's the biggest problem for him, is his qualifying is hindering his races, because this year, again, he did a good job on first laps, gaining a couple of places, but when you're starting 15th all the time, it's not helping. Excuse me, it's not helping you.
Yeah,
and it's not helping the team strategy either. So,
I mean, he does have very good racecraft. His racecraft is fantastic, but like you mentioned, you gotta, if you improve the qualifying in his race, if he adds an extra 3 spots, if he gets out of Q1 most of the time,
yes,
which I think is a huge issue. So even those extra 3 grid slots at the start of the race, that could massively improve the amount of points he gets throughout a season, I think, with his racecraft and how good he is a very good overtaker, and a very good defender as well. When you put him in a race and he's good at managing his tires, he's a good race car driver. And I don't know if it's a different setup than what he had from Sergio Perez that made him not as good in qualifying, but better since the parc fermé rules in racing, or in the race. But 2, 3, 4 extra grid slots could do him a world of difference in 2020.
Yeah, I think it's just simple as almost as outright pace as well too. Just Sergio's not there.
Midway facial change.
Yeah, my eyes were starting to hurt.
Glasses are off.
Okay.
My glasses are off.
It's when you know I'm getting into it.
Here
We
comes
know he's
Shaker.
serious.
Lance Stroll made him cry. Now he has to take his glasses off.
Yeah, so tough season for Sir Lancelot, but
Well, I like that. That's a good nickname.
Daniel Ricciardo gave him that nickname.
Did he?
I will not take credit for that. So
Good job, Daniel.
yeah.
Once again, impressing us.
So 2020 for him is going to be a big year. Obviously, all the haters out there want to throw the pay driver comments out there right away. So it's up to Lance to shut them up. But yeah, qualifying is the big thing. I think if the qualifying, you at least get into Q2, it'll solve a decent amount of your problems.
for sure.
100%. Who's your biggest disappointment in terms team, driver, scenario?
C'est le Renault.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was mine, but I'll think of a different one.
Okay. They were comme si. Well, actually, they weren't even comme si comme ça this year. They were.
Or wishy-washy.
I'm trying to think of a French word for it.
Horrible.
There we go. That's a good one. They were, anyways. They just really disappointed me for this year because they brought in Daniel Ricciardo. They put in more money into their budget. They ditched Red Bull ditched them, so they're only supplying themselves and McLaren. And it all seems shaping up to at least 4th place.
Yeah.
I mean, I expected 4th place from them. And for them to finish, I think they finished 5th in the Constructors' Championship. Toro Rosso was right on their heels going into the last race, and then McLaren finished ahead of them as well. They got a podium. Toro Rosso got 2 podiums. Sorry, what was that?
They were 5th.
5th? Okay.
Yes.
So, 5th in the championship with all the money and being a works team and the budget that they have and the big driver that they brought in. And let's not forget about Nico Hülkenberg, who also is a very good driver.
Yeah, very good. Should be on the grid for 2020. But anyways,
get
into that later.
Their car was just not good. They started off the season rough, and they had the disqualification in Japan, obviously. So, for me, Renault, considering that the allowances that they have and the resources that they have, just really disappointed me. At the end of the day, this is a world championship team with a really great history, and I think their drivers deserve better.
For sure. I think they did have a better later half of the season compared to how they started off. Those last 5 or 6 races were definitely a big plus for them. But I agree they were kind of a disappointment this year. And like you said, we said it right off the bat. Renault, Racing Point were the two we were expected to be best of the rest.
Yeah.
So or Haas.
I absolutely think that Renault is one, if not the biggest disappointment of the season. In terms of, as you mentioned, how much money and how much star power and hype there was for the team this year. They really dropped the ball in a lot of ways this season, and it just seemed like they couldn't get the car right for the longest time. And to have issues with your car and have issues with your engine as a works team,
Yeah.
you can't be having that. Like, that's just unacceptable to
Also
have so many reliability problems this year.
And to be caught cheating.
Yeah,
That too.
yeah, that's just funny.
Yeah.
In the long run.
Sorry to jump in, but
No.
just also
No.
McLaren being a customer team to get a podium and finish ahead of you.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
bad.
I had Daniel Ricciardo. I think I said at the beginning of the year I had him getting a podium this year in Renault. That looks like a silly prediction now. But they have to kind of scrape things back and go right back to the drawing board and try and figure out 2020, because they're not going to keep Daniel Ricciardo if this sort of thing happens. And I mean, they have Esteban Ocon coming in next year, fantastic race car driver. Glad he's back in the sport, but he's another guy with a lot of talent that could go to a top team if Renault doesn't kind of figure their things out in 2020 and then leading into 2021.
Yep, agree with you.
Sorry, are you saying they're not going to keep Daniel Ricciardo, or Daniel Ricciardo it's not going to want to stay?
They're not going to want to stay.
Okay.
Yeah, not going to want to stay, just in terms of
Yeah, because
he's-
I was going to say, I think they would keep Daniel Ricciardo, but probably get rid of I always forget his name.
I know what you're talking about.
That guy.
Yeah.
So what was your
My
most
biggest
moment?
disappointment? Well, other than Renault, it has to do with another team as well. And this team, I thought, was going to be up there with getting a lot of good points finishes, double points finishes, and challenge for fourth place in the constructor standings. And I thought it would be a big year for them, and that's Haas F1.
Yeah.
Haas, I thought they didn't even drop the ball; they shot themselves in the foot. Like, I don't even know how to.
bunch of wankers.
Yeah, they did. They really did. Like, I don't know how they managed to screw it up that bad, but to have your Australia race spec car, that's a basic start of the year car, to have that car faster than your car midway through the season with all your research and development really shows that they had,
No research and development.
well, yeah, that or just like, I don't
Research
know.
and dumb element.
I don't know
Yes.
what.
That did not sound as good as
No,
I thought it
it's
would.
okay. It sounded good in your head though. I don't know what they were like. How do you put that on the car? What's their testing in the wind tunnel to have that so much worse than your start of the year car? And we saw them switch back. At least Romain Grosjean switched back to the spec Australia car and seemed to be a little bit better for them. But a lot of reliability issues, a lot of driver errors, especially from Romain. There's just a lot of things to work on. I expected them to have a solid year and to be pushing. And I think it was just a very frustrating year for everyone in Haas F1. And they'll have to have, again, themselves have a step back, have a regroup in 2020 and figure out what plan they want to have going forward with these guys. And research and development is going to be their huge thing to improve in 2020, to have consistent and better research and development throughout the season, to put out a competitive car that can stay with the rest of the grid all year. They finished 9th in Constructors' Championship, so only obviously ahead of Williams.
Yeah.
So they're the worst team on the grid.
Yeah, only 28 points this year. So
Yeah.
very, very big drop from last year, where they looked like they had all the potential. And then, again, botch Australia pit stops again this year to open the season, which was hilarious.
I know, it was like, surely they can't do it again. And
then
they did.
boom.
They did.
So yeah, that's another good one. Two teams right there that just really fell short. So yeah, I'm hoping that Haas can rebound because I like the team. I'm obviously a big fan of their team principal.
Yes.
And the drivers as well. You know, I think that they got a pretty solid partnership there. I do think that Romain Grosjean is going to need to deliver a big year if he wants to keep his seat, because I think that there's a lot of options open for 2021. Maybe even a Robert Kubica to slide into that role, or another couple of drivers as well that have been sort of being
Nico.
tossed around. Yeah, Hulkenberg. will be
Hulkenberg
out
come
there.
back. Also, there's a certain couple of big names in F2, Nick DeFries being one of them, that will be pushing for a seat in 2021, sorry, to have a possible seat opening. And you always remember Mick Schumacher. The name is there. The name is there, and he won a race, obviously, in F2 this year, but he's a name. The Schumacher name can do a lot for you.
Yeah.
To get you a seat in F1. So there's another name as well. So there's a lot of people that have to have their eyes in the back of their shoulders, just kind of making sure, checking those young drivers coming up in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely.
There better be more teams come into the sport for 2021. We have to have more than 20 people. And I've said this so much. This is my biggest pet peeve. And I can tell I'm getting into it because my voice is raising. But there needs to be more than 20 drivers on the grid.
Say it with your chest.
Needs to be more than 20 drivers on the grid.
There we go.
At least 24.
100%.
At least 24 drivers. Because there's so much talent out there that's getting wasted in other sports. I shouldn't say wasted, but just not appreciated in other sports, in other series. That I really think that 24 drivers, at the minimum, you could get some really, really great racing.
For sure.
Well said. I agree with you there.
I think there should be 30 drivers, but anyways, 30 spots on the grid. And that always puts up to debate, do you have, if no one wants to buy into the sport and buy a team into F1, do you raise the budget and you go with 3 cars per team?
Well, I mean, there's definitely teams that want to be in part of F1.
But the ones putting the initiative in.
Porsche and BMW were both interested at one point, weren't they?
Yeah, but where did that go?
Fell through.
They've been interested forever. I mean, BMW was in it for a while, BMW Sauber, and they pulled out, and they haven't been around since.
Well, I think the main issue with them was they would have to take over another team, right? Or would they have to start up a new team from?
I don't know. If they should just start up a new team.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, I know I don't have the money to do it, but if I had the money to do it, I'd just do it.
We might see it after 2021 because of the budget cap.
Yeah.
I think teams are going to be spending so much money next year that Ferrari's already increased the budget. I think a lot of the other teams as well will be they'll be burning money for 2020 and 21.
Oh, it's going to be.
So I think that honestly, for 2021, as I'm disappointed, but I think that it will still be 10 teams on the grid for 2021. I 100% agree with you. 24, 26 drivers to start with, and then maybe go on to 30 like it used to be back in the old days. But
F3 has 30-something drivers on the grid. It's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, and the third driver is not a bad idea if we're going to have some teams that want to have the 3 drivers. It happens in IndyCar, obviously, different series, different rules. We understand that, but I think that it will take probably a good 2 to 3 years after the 2021 regs for a team or a manufacturer like Porsche, BMW maybe, or Jaguar to look at that and go, okay, maybe it's time for us to enter, or maybe we'll have somebody follow the Haas business model and sort of come into the sport that way. We've, since the last couple of weeks since the season ended, we've heard rumors of Lawrence Stroll acquiring Aston Martin and turning Racing Point into Aston Martin Racing. So could there be potentially an option for Aston Martin to have their separate team while we keep the name Racing Point? We don't know. So
would Red Bull allow that?
It'd just be a partnership that would fizzle out.
Yeah, I think they would lose the sponsorship.
It wouldn't be Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. It'd
most likely change over to Honda Red Bull Racing.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Yeah,
I'm sure Verstappen's hiding the keys to his DB12 right now.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some decent Hondas. If we're talking about, Asian cars that it could be in there, I think Toyota would be nice to see them make another run at F1 and have that whole Honda Toyota battle.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Because that's always they battle each other in the car industry in real life.
I realistically want to see Subaru in something other than rally racing.
I don't think Subaru would ever go in F1.
No, I don't think they would either.
I don't think so.
I'd personally like to see Suzuki enter for. Are they still around?
They are.
Parts of the world.
Yeah. I haven't seen one of those in forever.
You see a Suzuki on the road every once in a while. It's you're still a company.
It's a thing.
Yeah, or a Mitsubishi. Is that Jeff's Japanese as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for more American teams to get into it as well. Ford,
I would like
especially Ford, Chevy.
I would like to see Ford in F1.
I would rather see Ford
Chevy
first.
Yeah.
I think Ford would have the best potential just with their racecraft in terms of the other series. I think they could provide a better engine than Chevy.
Yeah, I just think that when manufacturers or different companies are looking at possibly entering F1, especially on the engine side, when you look at how expensive and complex the engine manufacturing is and the development, it just scares a lot of people away, and they're just like, it's just not worth it for us at this point. So
understandable.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough because of how expensive the sport is and how complicated it's got. So But hopefully we get to see some more teams in the grid in the next 5 years or so. Okay, so moving a little bit along, we're kind of getting into the end of the whole season review here, and one of the other things too that I wanted to ask you guys about was your driver of the year, and this kind of ties into our power ranking sort of for the final year. So we were kind of having a bit of a debate about this before we got on about who we're going to put as number one for our power ranking. So maybe not to let, you know what, maybe let's not even cover it in this episode, and we'll just talk about it in the power rankings.
I think it's better.
Yeah, because I think it'll give away who our top 1 and 2 is for sure. So let's move on to the next one then, which would be the best race of the year.
Let's not start with me because I have like 3 and I can't. I'm still debating which one was my favorite.
Okay.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go. If you want. I know which one you're going to pick, but.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Which one do you think?
I think you're picking Germany.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a consensus. That could be a consensus number 1.
Germany, Germany was one of them for me for sure.
Yeah, it's a consensus on everyone's. That's an all-time classic.
Yeah. You know what, though? My honorable mention and in close second place actually would be Austria.
Yeah,
I
same
think
with me.
That's my. I enjoyed Austria over Germany.
So that was your race of the year?
My race of the year was Austria.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mine was Brazil. And
that's a good pick too.
Those were my top 3 choices that I was deciding between.
Yeah. I had Silverstone ahead of Brazil personally.
Oh yeah. No. See, I chose
Fantastic race, but
I chose Brazil because I'm a Max fan. So.
Oh, there you go. I didn't have mine. Didn't have to do any allegiance. I just enjoyed the racing.
I mean, it was a good race too, man.
Yeah, very good race. There's some really crackers for this year. some crackers. But
he's shooting threes again.
Yeah, nailed it. But anyways,
Shout
for
out
me,
to high school basketball.
If you guys watch the what bloopers from this year, then you'll
our funniest moments of 2019.
Then you'll understand why we're laughing.
But for me, Austria was the race of the year, and I think a lot of that had to do with not in terms of just the craziness of the race, but it had to do a lot with the battle of this is our first taste of the battle of the future.
Yeah.
And having Charles and Max, bang wheels at each other and try and pass each other, and obviously Max got the better of Charles in that race. But hard racing, exactly what we saw. No penalties given, thank God, because we were all nervous about that. And a quick glance into the future of what F1's going to be in 5 years.
Also, because the first 7 races sucked.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that was like, holy shit.
Well, yeah, Canada was a good race just because of the drama.
That's true. Yeah, it's just because of the drama what made it a good race.
And Monaco's always Monaco's Monaco.
Yeah. Monaco was good because of the drama between Max and Lewis.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true.
So.
Yeah, and the way that Austria built up where you thought Max was out of the race after lap 1, and then, it seemed like Leclerc was going to coast to his first F1 victory, and then all of a sudden, Verstappen puts on those hard tires, and he starts storming through the field, and he's in 4th, and he's in 3rd, and you're like, he might be able to catch him here. And then he's complaining about engine issues, but he overtakes the next car, and then it all just came to this culmination within the last 3 laps, passes Verstappen, and then obviously the Orange Army out there, the Dutch fans.
Love it. Yeah.
What a great week that was, and we made some good videos that got us a lot of attention over in Holland. So that was very, very fun.
It was the turning point of the season, I think, for in terms of entertainment wise.
Yes, it was.
Really saw some hard racing, and that made the stamp. This is what we want to see, and I think a lot of fans voiced their opinion. A lot of media voiced their opinion as well on this is what we want to see. And I think the FIA listened to ease back a little bit on penalties after that race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as much as the Canada incident sucked for the fans and obviously for Ferrari, I think it was good for the FIA to kind of wake up a little bit and see that, okay, we can let these boys race, and there's a difference between dangerous driving and wheel-to-wheel racing.
Crashing.
For sure. So
crashing on accident.
Hopefully in 2020. And, another thing that we also have to take into account, which we didn't, was the death of Charlie Whiting at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
That really made it difficult for Michael Massey and the FIA. So we can, after looking back at it, cut them a little bit of slack and say, okay, this was a big transition for them. And, Charlie Whiting was on top of mostly everything when it came to race safety and all these penalty decisions. So, now and going into the next year in 2020, hopefully they have a better understanding of it. Hopefully we'll see more drivers as race stewards, which should help, hopefully. Yeah. And I'm just hoping that we'll get good racing in 2020 with minimal interference from the stewards. More black and white flags would be nice.
Yeah, those served a great purpose as well, the black and white flags, because you never really see those in years past. But
Yeah, it's true.
they came back this year and I think set the right tone for the season. I just want to touch on momentarily, since we're on the topic of it, and kind of dampen the spirits of everyone. But there was 3 pretty tragic losses in F1 this year, with Niki Lauda passing away, Charlie Whiting tragically out of nowhere, and of course Antoine Hubert in F2, that horrible crash in Belgium. And just kind of take a moment to remember the amount of talent we lost on and off the track on both sides. And of course our thoughts also go to Correa in his recovery, trying to come back for, well, I don't know exactly how his recovery is going, but hopefully he can be back in a race seat soon as well. So just from our table here in our podcast and the community, we just want a quick memory of the sad losses that we had this year.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 big holes in the F1 community for sure. Obviously, all 3 of them were very shocking. And especially the Niki Lauda. Well, I don't want to single out anyone because they're all equally as tragic, but Niki Lauda being such a prominent figure on the grid and for Mercedes as well, and it still feels kind of weird that he's not around and not giving interviews with the red cap. So it was definitely a tough year from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But their memories live on, though. I think everybody did a good job. F1 did a really nice job, obviously in Spa with the tributes for Antoine and his family. So hopefully the safety standards will continue to improve, so we won't see that again. But unfortunately, it's part of racing.
Yeah, and everyone did as race drivers do. They raced on, and I think that was the biggest kind of takeaway from it, is that even though it is a very dangerous sport, all these drivers want to do is race and enjoy themselves. And got to see some fantastic races this year for some fantastic talent. Transitioning from that, maybe we can kind of touch on.
I'm not gonna get to say my favorite race of the year.
Oh, I thought you said
Brazil.
I thought you said Brazil.
Real quickly, but I didn't get to say why though.
Okay. Sorry. I guess we interrupted you. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Shaker.
Feel bad now.
What was your favorite race of the year?
It was Brazil,
okay.
As mentioned. Yeah. But mostly because, the whole drama from last year with Brazil, with Max not getting the podium that he was going to, and I think it was first place, actually, not just podium.
Yeah.
Him to come back and dominate all qualifying. And then Lewis Hamilton, still chasing a win despite him already winning. It's nice to see a racer, even though he's already finished the championship, to still try to race to get that podium and first place finish. Whole Alexander Albon accident, and I think obviously almost getting a podium. Pierre Gasly getting a podium, Carlos Sainz getting a podium. So I think overall that was probably my favorite race.
Yeah, it was a very exciting race. It was nice to see, even though the championship was decided.
Yeah,
Lewis was still pushing for it, which is classic Lewis. Lewis he's a competitive person, obviously, and always striving to be the greatest in the world, the GOAT. But especially near the end of the season, we're kind of there's no real hype.
Melts down.
Yeah, but
I know Max was fighting for the 3rd position, and
that's true. Yeah,
and Carlos was also fighting for 6th.
Yeah,
so.
No,
but Interlagos is always a fantastic track. I think it's one of the most underappreciated tracks on the grid. Is Interlagos. It's fantastic, fantastic racing out there. Maybe the not the biggest surprise, but the biggest thing you're looking forward to in 2020 going forward. Any of you?
Was that a question?
It's a question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That is a question.
I'm so focused on what you were saying.
Yeah, no, that's all I had to say.
Zoned out.
Yeah.
So looking ahead to 2020. So I've already thought about this a little bit, and I'm like, it could potentially be the greatest season ever, or it could be the worst one ever.
Yeah.
Because here we are with not much regulation change. I know recently the news came out that they're sticking with the 2019 tires, and I kind of made the joke right away, like, congrats to Mercedes on their 7th World Championship.
For sure.
But when I look at it again, it could also mean that because each team has had 21 races on these 2019 tires and all the tests and preseason tests, maybe they'll have a better understanding of how to develop the car around the tires to get them in the proper working window. They've all had 21 races in 12, 14 months to look at all the data and all the wind tunnel adjustments. And I'm hoping that each team will be able to improve the car and that the grid will be real close next year,
For sure.
especially between the top three, because we saw Ferrari and Red Bull kind of come on in the last half of the season. If they can continue that form right from race 1 all the way till race 2022 next year, I think 2020 could potentially be like a 2010 style season where we have 3-4 drivers battling for the championship toward the end of the season. That's what I'm hoping for, at least, but you never know. I think that eventually the Mercedes reign is going to have to come to an end, but I just think that we're always in these years before a big regulation change, that it's an opportunity for a really good season. So that's my look ahead to 2020. So yeah, just hoping for an ultra close season.
Yeah, pretty much it. I mean, there's trying to think here real quick.
I mean, if I could add one thing, it would be looking at Red Bull and Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
I think 2020 is a make or break year for his future with Red Bull.
Very true. I'm gonna have to say, kind of looking forward to see what Renault does next year with Esteban Ocon and Daniel Ricciardo, to have such a veteran driver and, you know, a younger driver who everybody says is, you know, going to be one of the better drivers in F1 in the future. So I'm excited to see where they end up going with, especially how this year went.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same line as you,
Yeah.
but in terms of, I guess, multiple teams in a resurgence
Yeah.
from last year and an improvement, obviously Renault for those reasons and how much potential they say they have, but they haven't shown it at all since they've really entered F1. Same with Haas F1 as well. I'd like to see them have a better resurgence as well and better team atmosphere there, and hopefully they can get things back on the right track. And Williams, I think we haven't really talked a lot about Williams this year.
Yeah.
But this is a historic team that has had 2 really, really tough seasons, maybe the worst in their history. Actually, probably the worst in their history.
Yeah, for sure.
And a storied team that deserves to be at least fighting towards top 10 positions. So I really hope they can they put a blanket on last year, come back, and I know it's not going to be an overnight change, but we've seen teams bounce back pretty well before. I mean, kind of see how McLaren's bounced back this year. We've seen
Sauber from Real.
Yeah, that was a huge resurgency as well. No one expected them to do what they did last year, and then of course this year as well they were pretty good as well. So hopefully they can have a nice resurgence and to be closer to everyone. I think everyone enjoys Williams being on the grid.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, any final thoughts for 2019 before we kind of say our thank yous and goodbyes for the 2019 season? I guess just for me, we saw history being made with Lewis Hamilton, and we probably don't talk about him enough, but him winning his 6th world title, it still kind of seems a little bit crazy just to say that for him winning 6. Obviously, Mercedes also winning 6, so to see history being made was pretty special, and now with him with a chance to tie Schumacher's record of 7 world titles next year, and also eclipse his wins record next year. He's very close. So, that was even though the season wasn't as exciting for the championship, I appreciated seeing that history being made, and also Valtteri Bottas stepping up a little bit. It was nice to see him have some really good weekends where he beat Hamilton on tough tracks, on Lewis Hamilton tracks. So to see him come out on top was nice. So, not the season we wanted in terms of the championship, but nonetheless, I think we had a lot of memorable moments and a lot of great races. I think when we look back on the decade, a lot from 2019, I think, can be incled in there.
That's true. Start of a new decade.
Yep.
I didn't even think of that.
Crazy as that.
I know. I didn't even think of that. Who's your team of the decade?
That's a hard one.
Yeah, I wonder who.
Williams.
Nice. What do you think of it? Red Bull. How many championships Red Bull win
4.
this decade? Yeah. 4 and 6.
Yeah. There's only 2.
It's actually pretty close. 4 and 6.
So what is that? Only 3 drivers won world championships this decade.
Yeah.
And only 2 teams.
Vettel, Rosberg, and Hamilton.
Yep.
Wild.
Best driver of the decade?
I mean, it's Lewis Hamilton by numbers.
It is Lewis Hamilton by numbers. Yeah, you're right. But
best race of the decade?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Canada 2011. That's your vote usually.
No, that's true. Canada 20. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah, Canada 2011 is. Yeah. That's still my favorite race in all of all time. So obviously, it would be my favorite race of the decade.
I'll throw a last one at you, maybe. Best championship season of the decade. Hard for you, Shaker, because you only started watching recently.
2016 Nico Rosberg.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of votes for that online, so that's
I really
interesting.
enjoyed that season, and for completely different reasons than I enjoyed every other season. Just the drama was fantastic. Like it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much. 2016 was a season where it wasn't so much about the racing. It wasn't a racing season. It was a drama show. It was a reality TV show.
Big drama
every single
show.
week. Yeah. It was Survivor. Like it was Survivor every week. It was fantastic to see the drama between those two.
Sorry, Lewis, you've been voted off the island.
Yeah, I voted off the island 2016. And the fact that it ended in Abu Dhabi, the World Championship deciding, the drama in that race as well made that race so much better. It was just a all-out good season.
True. I'd want to put my vote on 2010, but to be honest with you, I didn't really watch that season. I wasn't watching F1 that closely at the time. Obviously, 2010 was when the last race in the season, we had 4 different drivers going for the championship. So my vote would actually have to go for 2012. 7 different winners to open up the 7 races, first 7 races of the year.
That was a great year, yeah.
Kimi winning in Australia. Pastor Maldonado winning in Spain. Fernando Alonso with a couple of good wins as well. So, yeah, I think that 2012 was... And that race also came down to the last one in Brazil. And, Vettel spinning out on the first lap and making the charge back. Nico Hülkenberg with his first chance to win a race there and then plowing into Hamilton. So I'll go with 2012.
Should we quickly remember the teams that folded in the 2010s? Let's see if we can name them all. Force India is one, technically. Caterham, however we pronounce it. Manor Racing, loved me some Manor Racing.
Rio Haryanto.
Yeah, that's true. HRT. HRT no longer with us.
Virgin Racing.
Virgin Racing, that's right. Well, I'm lumping all those into one. Virgin, Marussia, and turn into Manor. That's all one sort of big cluster crap show. That was. I think those are the.
I think you hit them all for the most part.
I hit them all.
Yeah.
Does Toro Rosso not count?
Yeah,
I guess
leaving the decade. What? But does 2020, does that still count in this decade?
That is a
No.
brand
So
new
it's a new decade. Okay,
yes.
got it.
Okay, yeah, I guess technically no, but yeah.
kind of. I guess yeah.
You see, I was watching...
Because they announced it like halfway through the year as well. It's one of those.
Is there any other teams that we're missing?
I mean,
I guess Sauber technically.
Yeah, they changed.
But they still have the Sauber junior team, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's still like Sauber
there.
Engineering.
They're still kind of there.
I think you nailed them all.
Yeah, I think I got them all. Let us know if I'm missing one.
Yeah. I think you pretty much nailed most of them. So any more thoughts on 2019 F1 season?
No. Let's
we
go
got 'em all.
2020.
Yeah.
Give us some nail biting finishes.
Yeah.
More better races than last year. Although there were a lot of good races. We always want better.
Definitely. But let us know in the comments below your favorite moments of 2019. You can drop a comment in basically what we were talking about. So your favorite race, best driver of 2019, most disappointing thing about the F1 2019 season, your most surprising thing about it, and really just any other thoughts that you have on the 2019 season. We'd love to hear from you for the last time this year. And I guess before we go and before we wrap, just a big thank you goes out to all of our subscribers and all of our listeners. Whether you watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes or you're doing both, we really appreciate all the support that we got. We had a goal of reaching 1,000 for this year and getting over that hump and getting monetized, and we finally did it. So that was very, very nice for us. And so we've done probably over 30 episodes this year.
Yeah.
All the way from February now here until the end of December. We're only a couple days away from Christmas now. So, this wouldn't be possible without you guys. So just a big thank you to everybody. And stay tuned for us for 2020 because big things are coming.
Yeah, lots of stuff to look forward to. Hopefully everyone enjoys their holidays and kind of the winter break and relax. And I know a lot of people I saw this hilarious meme online on Twitter. I don't have the Twitter account to thank, but it was blinds. And I look in between blinds open and closed. It's like it's only been 20-something days, 30 days since the F1 season, but blinds already remind me of DRS. So it's like everyone's kind of starting to get a little anxious, but I know we'll have some great content on this channel, some cool videos coming forward that a little different, but hopefully you guys can enjoy as well to get us through the winter break and get you through what is a no F1 season. And I mean, it's only really January that we have off. Second week of February, second to third week of February already been announced. Some F1 teams will be revealing their cars, and of course we'll bring you the coverage from there. And just like that, we'll be back into testing season, and so it's not too far away at all.
Yeah, we don't have too much time off, actually.
No, about a month. That's it.
Yeah, a month and a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're hoping to still do videos between that time.
Yeah, so no time off here.
Not really time off.
Yeah. But let us know if you have any content suggestions for 2020.
Yeah, what do you guys want to see?
Yeah.
We're definitely going to brainstorm some things. After we have a couple of weeks off rest, we'll come together and come up with some ideas, because obviously we have the podcast, which is the staple of this channel, but we've kind of expanded this year in doing the power rankings, which were fun, and we got some good response to it. So let us know what other types of content you'd like to see.
One of the things we are going to be adding is the team rankings for next year, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Team power ranking. So that's going to be another addition we're doing next year as well, which I think is pretty much confirmed. If not, I confirmed it right
You
now.
confirmed it. Breaking news.
Yeah, you just did.
So yeah, that's going to be one of the things we're for sure doing next year. So
Yeah. More videos, more content for you guys to enjoy, and F1 community is a great community, so we always we appreciate you guys' support.
Yeah, very much looking forward to next year. So, just like Tyler said, hopefully everybody has a good Christmas and a good couple of days off. And yeah, we'll be here in January doing a couple of extra videos. We obviously got the end of the season power rankings that will be coming out after this video. And until February, no real F1 action, but it's around the corner.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner, not too far along at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Any final thoughts then?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Relax with some alcohol.
Beverages.
Have some
If you don't
alcohol.
drink water.
Yeah. Water's also great.
Way to sell it.
Enjoy some time with the family. That's what that
There
is.
you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks, everyone, again. Really appreciate the support. We'll see you in 2020.